Hey everyone, good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Social Media Pie. It is Monday. I'm so excited today, guys, because I have a very, very special VIP guest with me today, Duke Abrahamson. Duke, how are you doing here today?
Good morning or afternoon.
I know it's like I was like thinking coming in, I'm like, is it morning? Is it afternoon? Like Mondays are always a little bit like jarring, right? Like trying to
Yes,
get our
yes.
bearings again after the weekend, right? So how are you doing today?
Good, good. I'm actually back in the office today, so
Are you?
yes,
Yeah.
feels a little different.
How long have you been back? Is today the first day or have you been coming back gradually or tell me
This
about
is
that?
actually the first day. I mean, I
Okay.
think I came back a couple of times just to pick up stuff from the office, but this is
Yeah.
actually the first day that I've actually been back to work in the office.
Wow. And where is your office located? Is it in Troy still or where are you guys
No,
at?
we're located in Farmington Hills.
Oh, Farmington Hills. Okay. I could remember and I feel like I visited, I know APAC was once upon a time in Troy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then maybe you guys moved out there. It's been a little while since I've been visiting you, but by way of background, guys, I want to welcome anybody who's watching today, whether you're watching us on LinkedIn Live or Facebook Live, please drop a comment below. Let us know where in the world you're watching from. I'm in Fraser, Michigan, working out of my home office. Duke is in Farmington Hills out of her work office, her corporate office. And I got to say, Duke, does it feel kind of nice to leave the house and to be in a different place to be working?
You know what? It took me a lot longer to get ready this morning than I thought I usually get ready. I didn't think it took me this long to get ready and then get to work.
Yeah.
I think I'm just used to rolling out of bed, putting on a shirt and getting in front of the computer. So,
Yeah, right. It's
yeah,
got
so
to be
now
nice.
it's a little different.
And is it pretty quiet in the office there today?
Oh
Are there
yeah.
other tenants or is it pretty much just you on your
No,
floor
it's just
there?
me. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of quiet. It's nice. And I've been talking with a lot of people, like we've all kind of had to make that working from home adjustment for COVID. And I love my husband. I'm not sure if he's watching right now. I'm going to say this comment knowing that he is watching. He probably wants to get out of the house. I know he loves me, but I think in some aspects, I mean, it's like in some aspects we don't want to go out because of COVID and we want to be safe and it's a long drive for him. But I can also imagine he loves me, but he probably loves being away from me, and then he loves come back home to me sometime, right, sweetie? If you're watching, are you watching? I know he's listening to me right now because I see him saying hi, Duke, in the
Hi,
But be that as it may, we are in the world that we're in, and we have to make do. So Duke and I actually we met each other. I want to say it was like probably about 10 years ago, right? I think it had to
God.
been. Do you remember
Yeah,
when we
time
both
goes by
worked at
fast.
Walsh? Do you remember when you started at Walsh?
I don't. It's been so long.
In some aspects, it's like it was 5 minutes ago, and then in other aspects, it was like a world and a half ago.
Yes, yeah.
But you and I worked together. You were in the alumni office. I was in the marketing department, and we both supported each other. And then we were both taking classes at the same time, supporting each other there. And then since we've kind of just remained active on social media, and I feel like I still know you. I still keep up with your life because of that, but I don't see you in person as much
Right.
as we used to, right, back in the day.
I think the
So,
last time was at the wedding.
oh yeah, Don Don
Yeah,
Hebrecht's wedding. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. So getting together with former coworkers, so that was
yeah.
great. So guys, when I invited Duke to come out on the show, we were already in the COVID days of life, right? And I said, hey, what do you want to talk about? And knowing a little bit of her background, I said, if you want to talk about kind of what's happening at APAC, we can talk about that or anything else. And she said, let's talk about lessons I learned in lockdown. I'm like, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
But before we do that, Duke, why don't you take a few minutes, describe for us a little bit about you, the work that you're doing at APAC, and then we can get the conversation started.
I'm the executive director at AIPAC. AIPAC stands for the Asian Pacific American Chamber of Commerce. It is a 501c6 nonprofit membership association, and we're known as the gateway to Asian and U.S. businesses. So we have operations and programs supported by membership dues and financial contributions, sponsorships, and donations. Our membership is comprised of Fortune 500 corporations, multi-ethnic private business enterprises, small businesses, and corporate professionals over a broad spectrum of industries. So what we do is we facilitate business relationships among the Asian and the US based companies and to promote the economic advancement of the Asian Pacific Americans. We represent Asian and Asian Pacific countries. This includes 30 plus countries, and we act as a collective voice for the business community. So that's quite a broad spectrum.
Awesome. How long have you been
we-
in that role now? You've been there for, has it been over a year now?
No, it hasn't
No?
even been, it hasn't been that long yet.
Okay.
And, you know, it just seems like what I came in to do and what I'm doing now has pivoted and changed so much.
Yeah, yeah. And you guys are doing, have you had to convert all of your events to virtual, or are you putting some of those events on hold right now, or how are you guys adjusting right now?
Yeah, absolutely. We are converting some of our events to virtual. We've had a couple of happy hour Zoom meetings and get-togethers, but a lot of our signature events, actually all of our signature events for this year have been moved to next year.
Okay, to next year. So, and some organizations are kind of like they put things on hold, and they're like in the beginning. Remember in March, Duke, and we were like, oh, we're
Yeah.
going to be home for like 3 weeks, right? And the kids are going to be home from school, and you know.
Actually, in March was our last event. Like right before everything was going on, you know, we were even thinking about should we cancel our it was our East West Business Connection event, and we had a great showing, but that was definitely the talk of the event. What's going to happen with businesses moving on?
Yeah.
And right after that event, it feels like it's been a year now.
Yeah, right.
That event, but yeah, after that event, everything closed down. And
what was the date of that event? Do you remember? Was that like second week of March, first week of March? Do you remember?
Yeah, the event was the first week of March, but I think the lockdown officially was like on the 21st or the 22nd.
Okay. So yeah, it was like right around the corner. And I remember like the kids, our kids, the last day of school they went was Thursday the 12th, and I had like a meeting with Inform that day, and that was like the last hurrah for me, like the last time doing a major event. But we were already at that point not shaking hands. Do you remember, were people shaking hands at your event, or were we already? Okay.
No, we had hand sanitizers. People were not shaking hands. They were either bumping elbows or bumping feet. And yeah, and we were definitely, people were feeling the social distancing, and they were, you know, everything was talking about, you know, COVID and how we're continuing to do business and dealing with COVID.
Yeah, and I'm going to drop the event URL up on screen right now. So do you guys have some virtual events right now, or is everything kind of postponed until 2021? Or is it?
Everything's postponed.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'll throw it on the screen. So if you guys are interested in learning more about those upcoming events, you know, check out the calendar and definitely, you know, reach out to Duke, and I'm sure she can kind of fill you in on that. So
and on our events calendar, we also have events that help businesses move forward. So we do have webinars and Zoom meetings that help businesses that are stuck right now to move forward with COVID, whether it's tutorials or education in regards to how to bring employees back to work safely.
Okay, awesome. So definitely offering some resources for your members to help them kind of pivot and adjust. So, which is great. And kind of along that same line, we're all learning lessons, right? And, you know, we're learning lessons for membership organizations, and we're learning lessons personally. So when I invited you on, Duke, and I said, what do you want to talk about? And you said, hey, let's talk about lessons that you learned in COVID. So let's jump into this discussion. So it's been an interesting couple months here. So tell us about some of the lessons that you've learned, and let's have that conversation.
Yeah. Well, and, you know, and things are opening up now. So people, you know, I think a lot of people went through their personal epiphanies and thought about, you know, their own lessons that they wanted to learn during the lockdown. But like really the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because I wanted to make it real so that I don't forget, because I think going back to work and starting coming back to the office or concentrating on other things now, it slips away. Those life lessons slip away from you. So I really wanted to take this opportunity for myself, not just to share it with everybody else, but also for myself to make it a little bit more concrete, to remind myself that these are the things I really want to make sure that I remember.
Yeah. Documenting as you go. Have you been keeping track? I mean, do you journal or anything, or are you kind of just, I mean, when we scheduled the interview, did you sit down and write down things, or how did you come up with it?
Yes. Yeah. Actually, when we talked about it, I sat down and I'm like, okay, what life lessons? Because I feel like, you know, you went in because we weren't able to go out and we weren't able to do those things and network and socialize. And I'm a very extroverted person, so I need, those interactions with people. But because I didn't have that, I really had to sit down and think about, okay, what is the meaning of life? What are we doing here? What
am I a speck? What am I, right?
Yeah, what am I? What are we doing here? And I think that my first lesson, I think everybody feels this. And I think it's an easy one where you want to make sure that you're appreciating the little things in life. Mm-hmm. And I know that's an easy one, but I kind of want to break it down. Like, I think in life, especially in business, we move at a fast pace. We're ordering carry out, we go through the drive-through, we have meetings over lunch. Sometimes after the meeting, you don't remember if you even ate. Yeah. So, and I'm a mom, just like you, Brenda. And so, I come home from work, I'm cooking, I eat over the sink while I'm feeding my kids so that we can move them on so that they can get to practice on time for softball or some other after school activity. Mm-hmm. And because of quarantine, we were able to slow down.
Yeah.
I was able to plan out my meals and cook. I hate cooking, by the way, but
Same. I'm like, now we're like heroes, Duke, when we order carry out, both because we're supporting the local businesses, and then the kids are like, yes, carry out. I'm like, yes, win, win, win.
But I think that because we can slow it down a little, it was a little bit easier to appreciate the meals. And instead of, I think that, a lot of people tried recipes that they haven't tried or made banana bread or.
Did you make banana bread? I was literally just thinking of that when you said baking. Did you make any banana bread yet?
No, banana bread, but I did make that whipped coffee that was all the rage. Yeah, on Instagram.
Was that good or?
It was so easy. It looked great and it tasted great. It was so easy. And I think that because we're able to slow down, and I actually sat down and ate with my kids, and we didn't talk about school. We didn't talk about the after school activities. We didn't talk about work. Yeah. All we did was laugh. We just sat down and it felt great to be in the moment. I think that a lot of times we try to have dinner or meals with our family, but because things are going through our minds, things of the day, things I have to do next week, or, where we have to be in a half an hour,
we're late for already, we're supposed to be there already.
Yes. I think that we need to really stop and, appreciate that moment that we're in and enjoy it. And I think that that's something that I have to remind myself to continue to do every day, or especially when I'm actually sitting down with my kids. I want to make sure that I'm enjoying it while I'm there.
Yeah. Good point. So do you eat as a family at the table, or do you let everybody kind of go to their rooms? And
no,
I'm like a horrible person. Apparently, my husband who's watching is like, why do we have to eat together? I'm like, because we're a family. That's what we do. Once a day, we sit together and we look at each other without devices in our hands. Like that's what we do, right?
Yes. Yeah. And it's fun to do that too. I think that, I feel a lot more connected with my kids now. I know what they've been doing all day, whether it's, watching TikToks, what are the creators that they're watching, the influencers that they're watching. And then we laugh, we talk about watching Hamilton or, the songs, and my son's like singing word for word, all of the songs. So, knowing that, connecting with the kids again, it feels so good. Yeah. I think that we got to slow down and appreciate it and be in that moment and know those things.
Yeah. Really good. And I think a lot of us, and because we haven't had that luxury of being able to slow down because we're always moving in a mile a minute, and then you feel bad because you feel like you're not letting your kids do what they want to do. So then trying to get everybody signed up for an activity and more than one activity, and then your time keeps getting kind of pulled in a million directions, and then you're grabbing food on the go and taking one kid to soccer, another to dance, and then at the end of the week you're like, why am I so exhausted? Well, because you've been going nonstop. So we've been able to take a little bit of a break. So in pausing for family and reflecting, it sounds like it's been a big lesson for you and for me too, definitely.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And so lesson number 2 for me is not everything has to have meaning. So for me, I think because time was limited, I cut things out that didn't have purpose or weren't moving forward to my goals, moving myself forward in my goals.
Mm-hmm.
But along the way, I think I cut out things that gave me enjoyment.
Yeah.
It made me smile, that were fun to me, like it could be video games. For me, it could be like watching TikToks, which is, again, the rabbit hole that I fell into this
Are you on
quarantine.
TikTok now, or do you just watch it on your kids' account?
Oh, no, I have a TikTok account, but I just watch. I don't put videos on there.
Okay.
And I think like TV shows and trash novels, things that you're like, oh, this takes up a lot of my time, and I'm there. It's not moving me forward towards my goals, so I'm cutting it out, and which is great. You're working towards something, but I think that what I ended up doing was cutting it all out. So then I wasn't having my time, me time, the fun, and my drive to work and from and to work were my only time that was for me.
Yeah.
And which is a little bit sad, I think. I think because of quarantine, you had more time, you had these things, and you had to, I think some people are like, I watched all of Netflix. All of Netflix. So, I think that, spending time with my kids, finding out what makes them laugh. I'm like, oh, people ask, oh, what do you do for fun? I'm like, oh,
for fun, I'm a mom. I don't know what
fun is. I don't do anything for fun. So I really needed to find what that was and do it and actually enjoy it and make time for fun.
So let me ask you, on the Netflix, have you binge watched anything, or have you like watched a movie that you've always wanted to? Is there anything that you like checked off the list during COVID on TV or?
Tiger King?
See, I barely watched like a little bit, and Chris was watching it, and he pulled me, and I'm like, what is happening in this?
Right.
Wreck of a show.
Yes. I think on Prime, Amazon Prime, I've also started watching Hannah, which is like, a sci-fi, action show. And TikToks, I've fallen into that. I really watch way too much TikTok videos. I think you start and you're like, oh, I'm going to be on here for 5 minutes because each video is less than a minute.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, it's an hour later. You're like, oh,
and the kids are like, Mom, are we eating dinner tonight? You're like, I'll call carry out. It's okay. They're like, yes.
Yeah. So I just, I just needed to find what was fun again and do that. And I want to remind myself, like, even after quarantine and we're back out in the world, that I need to still have fun, do something that's meaningless.
Yeah.
And I maybe not 4 hours straight, but but definitely fit it in. Fit it in again.
But do you remember like the pre-kid, single days? I remember like on the weekends especially, I would just like veg out on the couch and like watch TV all day. And it was like, that was a luxury. And you didn't even realize it was a luxury at the time until your time kind of got pulled into a million directions with work.
And then you started watching Barney.
Or, you're like, I don't even like this purple guy. You get the song stuck in your head.
Yeah, SpongeBob, Disney, and then later on, you find out, people are like, hey, what are you watching? And you're like, SpongeBob?
There was this great episode of Curious George on this weekend, and he used a wrench, and and they're like looking at you like, are you crazy? You're like, no, it was good. Let me tell you more about it.
Yeah. And, and lesson number 3.
Yeah.
I found that right now, because everybody was slowing down, that it was easier for me to slow down.
Okay.
And that made me think, like, what did that matter? Why does it matter? So I realized that because everybody was slowing down, I'm comparing myself to other people. I was, right now I'm being forced to slow down, or during quarantine, we were forced to slow down. and everyone else was. And it made me feel better that it was okay for me to slow down. And as much as I'd like to think that, hey, I'm not competing against any other people, I'm just making sure that I'm better than myself.
Yeah.
And, you know, in reality, that's not the case.
Yeah.
I was still trying to compete with the Joneses, but the Joneses are now like a fictional character in my head that are business minded, are go-getters, and are creating these things that are well ahead of what I need to be doing. So I need to keep up with this fictional character that I've created. So I'm always moving forward. I'm always doing something. I'm always like, oh, I need to be here. I need to do that. I need to say yes to this. I need to say yes to that. And I need to be seen. I need to do all of these things to move myself ahead so that I can be on track and on time in regards to my life schedule, my career schedule, you know, so that I'm there for that next opportunity. And I had to make a conscious effort into thinking like, it's okay to slow down even when the world is moving. It's okay. There is no timeline. There's nothing that I really have to rush to do other than something that I've created in my own head. So I need to make sure that even, you know, as things open up now that I'm back in the office, things that I'm working on now, that I still take that time to slow down. And it's okay to say no. As long as you're keeping your priorities straight, it's okay to say no.
Right. And it sounds like that's a lesson you've learned now, but it's something that's going to carry on with you afterwards. And maybe all of these lessons are, now that I say that
I
loud,
hope
right?
so.
Yeah.
I hope so, Brenda, because that's, again, this is why I want to talk about it, because these life lessons that I think about, I feel like we went through quarantine for a reason.
Right.
You know, I've always wanted, hey, I wish I had more time with my kids. Boom, I have more time with my
kids. There you go. Unlimited time. They're not going to school anymore. Voila.
I have to take advantage of what happened and turn it around and say, okay, these things happen for a reason. We were stuck at home for a reason. What are the life lessons that I learned? And then take them forward. If I don't take it forward, then I've learned nothing. And 4 months have been, you know, stuck at home, and I've learned nothing. So I don't want to say that I haven't learned anything during this time.
Yeah, that's really good. I like it.
Yeah. And so, you know, all along the whole lines of, you know, appreciating, you know, and taking the time. I think the little things in life are important, but also the big things in life are important. I think that I was putting off my bucket list. I was like, oh, yeah, I want to do that. I'll put that on my bucket list. Oh, yeah, I want to do that. I'll put that on my bucket list. And you have this huge bucket list that you haven't done.
Right.
So I have my best friend, and I planned, we used to travel together a lot when we were in our 20s, and we're like, oh, we'll do that again. We'll do that again. We'll do it again. We're now in our 40s.
Yeah. Then you get married, you have kids, and your life is like fragmented, and you're like, and I remember telling my older sister once upon a time before we both had kids, that we're like, we both took German in high school. We're like, oh, we're going to go to Germany someday. And then, you know, she got married, started having kids, and I'm like, I don't think Germany's going to happen. You know, it's hard to make that time for yourself. So have you been working on that bucket list again now too?
Yes.
Or
well, actually, right before COVID, I call it before COVID, or BC.
Right.
We were planning to go to Dublin in May.
Wow.
And obviously that was canceled, and we're not going to be able to travel for the rest of the year. And I think that because of that realization, like you start to feel like life is short. So these last 20 years, we've been saying, oh, we're going to do that. We're going to do that. We're going to do it. I think I need to make it a priority. You know, again, I think that I've been working to advance myself in my career and for a better life, but I'm not living that better life. I'm not living my life. I'm just working all the time. working towards my career to create this thing for myself, but then I'm not living that life that I'm creating for myself. So I need to take those opportunities, and I need to make sure that I carve that out and say, yes, yeah, we do have kids. Yes, we do have these things, but I need to take care of myself too, so that I can take care of somebody else. Just like, you have to put your oxygen mask on yourself before you help somebody. I need to make sure that I'm at full capacity.
Yeah.
So that I can take care of my kids and that they're getting the full me. So
it's like in the morning for me, Duke. I'm like, I get my cup of coffee and my kids are like, I need something. I'm like, hold on. This is my oxygen mask. Let me just caffeinate. You've seen the little coffee cups that say, don't talk to me. Not yet. Okay. like that's where it is. And I just dropped up on screen to help you out here, Duke. Anyone, if you're watching, whether you're watching on Facebook or LinkedIn, if you've ever been to Dublin, drop a comment below and tell Duke places that she should visit when she does go to Dublin, because you will go there someday, right? And maybe there's people who live in Dublin that are watching, or they've visited the area and they know good sites to check out, good touristy destinations, or those that are off of the beaten path. I always ask for pie places, like where's a good bakery in town that I can go to? But there might be other spots that people could suggest.
Yeah, the hidden secrets. I'm an outdoorsy type. I want to kayak. I want to take long walks. Tell me what the hidden secrets are, where I definitely need to, take pictures and Instagram it.
There you go. Awesome. So working on the bucket list. So the trip has been postponed, but you're still planning on that with your friend in the future when the travel restriction. And right now it's a big question mark, right? But we're hoping at some point we'll have more clarity on when the world will be safe again to travel, right?
And I think that even if, international travel isn't going to be opening up, I definitely feel that I can still go on trips with my best friend. We can go camping. We can do something. I don't want to keep postponing it and making up excuses why we're not getting together and doing these things we've been saying that we're going to do. I don't want to, again, life is short, and I don't want to regret not being able to do these things with her for some reason. So any chance I get now, when we say we're going to do it, we're going to do it.
That's awesome. That's really good. Yeah. Cool. So we had one suggestion already, Dublin Guinness Factory. Are you a Guinness drinker?
Oh, yes. That was on our schedule for sure.
Is that part of the reason you chose Dublin, or just happened to be like, that might be kind of cool to see, right?
No, actually, I'm not a beer drinker, so. But I heard that no matter what, you have to. Guinness in Dublin is so much better than Guinness anywhere else.
Oh, is that right? Yeah. So there you go. So check out Guinness Factory. And there's about a 30-second delay from the time I put the comment up on screen. Rather when I tell you guys to put a comment and you leave a comment back. So I'll periodically be checking that as we continue the conversation here. And we'll wrap the conversation here on the tips, things that you learned, Duke, and then we'll open this up to Q&A in a few minutes here too.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I only have one last lesson that I've learned.
Okay.
So I don't know if you know the term tiger parent. But basically, I've been a tiger parent to myself. I'm too hard on myself. I have been beating myself up for not living up to the ideal, the standard, the measurement that I created for myself. I'm not keeping up with this fictional Joneses that I've created in my head either. So nothing to me was good enough. Whatever I was doing was not good enough. So I was always pushing myself to move further and harder and faster. And this time in COVID and during quarantine, I found that I needed to be kinder to myself. I need to be as kind to myself as I am to my friends. So when you're giving encouragement to your friends, you're like, no, you did great. Why are you thinking these negative thoughts? You did awesome. I need to say that to myself. I need to tell myself that what I am currently doing is awesome, to quit beating myself up, quit making it more difficult for myself. I think that when you look back and you're in your 20s or when you look back in your 30s and you're like, oh, I did some great stuff there. Why was I so self-conscious? I feel that way about my 40s now. I'm like, I am beating myself up. And when I'm in my 50s, I'm going to look back and say, oh, I was doing some great things. I should be proud of myself. I need to be proud of myself in this moment right now. And I think that lesson everybody needs to do. What you're doing right now, and I think there's this like, you're good enough. No. You're great. What you're doing right now is great. It's not just good enough. It's great. So you have to remind yourself that you are doing great. And that helps. That makes you feel better, that what you're working on, you're moving forward so that you're not constantly rushing through life, that you can slow down if you know what you're doing right now is great. And I think that that's, for me, I again, why I wanted to talk about this is because I need to remind myself these things so that I can continue to learn from them beyond quarantine, now that I'm in the office.
Do you feel too, like, I mean, I'm in my 40s too. I think I'm a couple years older than you. I'm not going to put you on the spot. I'm 45. I'll say that out loud.
So am I.
Okay, so I wasn't sure. I'm like, women were kind of weird. Like, who cares? I mean, I always say age is a gift that is denied to so many. My mom passed away when she was 46. So I'm coming up on the age I knew my mom at, you know, I last knew my mom at. And I kind of think about that some days. Like, I feel like the older we get, the more, I don't know about you, Duke, like, I just don't care anymore as much. Like, I'm more confident in my own skin. Like, I'll come on video and I'm like, whatever, this is what I get. My hair's not perfect. My makeup's like, whatever. But I'm here. I'm real. And, you know,
society, I agree with you, Brenda. I think society set us up for, hey, you had to look a certain way, accomplish a certain thing when you were a certain age. And, you know, you needed to be married by 25. You needed to have kids before you were 30. You needed to do all these things. And I think at this age of 45, nobody has expectations for you anymore. All of those expectations are self. You're putting on yourself. No one's looking at you and saying, hey, why aren't you like there? You know, what are their expectations for somebody in their 40, you know?
That's a good point. I never thought about that, because you do get the, when you're in your 20s, you get to a certain, like, and I was talking to my son about this the other day. My mom and dad, when they got married when they were, I think, 18 and 19, my dad was going off to the Army. That's what you did. My mom had, I think, my older sister when she was 19, me when she was like maybe 20. We were all like a year and a half apart. So we were like pretty much when she was 25, she had 3 kids already. And I didn't even meet my husband until I was 24. I can't remember. If he remembers, he'll probably 26, something like that. But we got married when I was 29. I had my first son when I was 30 and my daughter when I was 35. So my timeline is much different.
Yeah.
But I was talking to him, I'm like,
pressure, right?
What's that?
You feel that pressure?
Yeah. I mean, when you're in your 20s, it's like there's a time where if you get married too young, people are like, why are you getting married too young? Right. So there's a threshold. Is it 24, 25? I don't know. And then after you pass 25 and you say you're getting married, people aren't like, why are you rushing into it? They're like, congratulations, if they like the person. And then, are you sure if they don't like the person? You know? And then when you have your first child, people are like, congratulations, they're over the moon, they're excited for you, unless it's too quick after you got married. There's like expectations, right? Like, when is it acceptable? And then when you have your second child, if it's too close, according to society's, you know, mandate, it's too close, like, already, oops, you know, like, or
seriously,
go ahead.
Seriously, no one's watching. No one really cares beyond that 5 minute of conversation, beyond that. So even if you are in your 30s, let's say, and you know, you're just getting married or just having your kids, no one cares really. No one cares, because everybody is so caught up in what they have to do, what society thinks that they should be working on. So really do what is good for you. There is no timeline. And I think if you don't put that timeline on yourself, you're going to enjoy your life so much more. You're going to be able to slow down and be in the moment And when you have kids, or if you have kids, or even if you don't have kids and you've decided, hey, I'm not going to have kids so that I can work on my career, so that I can travel, so that I can do all of these other things, great. Then do that and be in that moment instead of rushing through it. I think
we
that
have a whole podcast on like lessons from 40-year-old women about life. And we're just like, all right, listen, don't worry about any of that. Like nobody cares. Nobody cares. Just do what makes you happy. But you have to like get to a certain point in your life where you're living these lessons before you're able to share them back, right?
No, and I absolutely agree. If in my 20s, if some 40-year-old came to me and told me these things, I'd be like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. No. Whatever. You're old lady. You don't know what you're talking about. Now we're hearing and like, wow, I look kind of fabulous for 45. I didn't think I'd look this good. Yes. I'm holding up pretty good, right?
40. Yes, absolutely.
So what I'd like to do now, Duke, is we'll shift gears and we'll go into some audience Q&A. And I saw a couple questions coming in. I can't see the name of this person. So whoever you are, it might be your privacy settings. We can't see your photo and your name. But best thing you are able to learn by working from home, Duke. What would you say to that question?
I think that in the business that I do, and I think the most important thing that I do is staying connected. So emails are great, Zoom meetings are great, but I think sometimes just that phone call, and for no reason other than, hey, how are you doing? How are you dealing? What's going on? That I think is, it's really difficult, I think, for the millennials to pick up the phone and just, even when your phone rings, you're like,
why are they calling me? Why couldn't they just text me?
I'm gonna let it go to voicemail. And let it go to voicemail, leave a voicemail. But reach out to those people in business, in your personal life, just to say, hey, how are you guys doing? How quarantined are you? Are you essential? Whatever that is, definitely make that phone call and reach out to them and connect. I think especially because of social distancing and everything, people do feel disconnected, and this is a great way for you to remain connected.
So I'm going to put up another comment. This is a long comment, so we have to do the Wilson from Home Improvement right now. Do you remember that show Home Improvement where he had to look over the fence and you only saw so when we get the really tall comments, I'm hoping StreamYard will fix this and put our videos higher, but right now they're kind of covering us. So this person, really great point. Friends you haven't connected with in years and set up a Zoom meeting, happy hour. Have you done any happy hours, do either work related or kind of just social happy hours with people since everything started happening?
Both. And it's been great fun. With AIPAC, we've done a couple of happy hours. One of them was during June for Heritage Month, basically. We heard stories in regards to people coming to the U.S. and how that was like, and we talked over drinks and we bonded. That was fabulous. That was great. I did a couple of Zoom meetings with my friends, which again, I think because they're Zoom, you can get together with your friends there across the country. So I connected with some friends in Vancouver, Alberta, Texas, and in California all at the same time, and we're just drinking and talking. And I feel like that's also another excuse. There's no boundary there in regards to, we can only get together with our friends that are local. There's no
boundary. I just had an interruption, not an interruption, because I love her very much. My daughter just came into the room and she couldn't hear me talking, so I heard the door and I thought it was Chris. I don't know if he's going to come and make an appearance. Sometimes I'll like Zoom bomb, like when he's in his videos, I'll come back behind him and I'll be like waving. He hasn't done that yet, and I'm kind of surprised because he knows you that he wouldn't like come and do that. So I don't hear him talking, so he must be outside or something right now. But anyway, she came in the room, and you know how it is, Duke. You're like, okay, she has a need, and it's probably she wants to do something today. And I'm like trying to do the gesture thing. So I just slid her a notepad with a pen. So we're going to see what her note is in a second here. But in the meantime, we've got a couple other, and I've been throwing your comments up on screen, guys. And I just want to say thank you all so much for joining. I completely agree. Duke is absolutely fabulous. A great person to know. And as we start to wrap the conversation here today, I'm going to pull up your LinkedIn profile up on screen, Duke, so that if people want to connect with you, they can. Are you open to new connections to folks on LinkedIn, or tell us a little bit about what your philosophy is there?
I am open to new connections, but definitely leave me a note. Because sometimes if you're just like, hey, let's connect, I don't know who and where and how you found me. So shoot me a note.
Okay.
Add the little note saying that, hey, I saw you on Brenda's LinkedIn Live or Facebook Live, whatever it is. And so I know where we met.
Where you met. And if there's something that resonated with you that Duke shared on the session here today, I always like to personalize my note and don't just say, hey, it looks like we have a lot of people in common. Let's connect on LinkedIn, because it looks spammy that way. And I'm like, can you just take the time and say, hi, Duke, I heard you on LinkedIn Live today with Brenda when you were talking about, lessons learned during COVID. The comment that resonated with me was when you talked about spending time with your family. Let's connect on LinkedIn. It takes 20 seconds, maybe 30 seconds if you type slow, right?
I actually like to connect on LinkedIn, not just, oh, I'm going to add another person. I actually, when we connect, I actually want to connect. So I like to know how we're connected, or have we met, or, how you found me, or why you think that this connection is great. Because for me, I'll look back and I'll be like, oh, okay, this is a great connection. I actually want to connect to you. So LinkedIn is just not I'll look at all these people I know. Well, I don't know any of them. Doesn't make any sense. I want to know who you are. And for us to connect, let's introduce ourselves and really connect.
Yeah, that's a good point. So so your LinkedIn URL is on screen. I'll drop it in the comments on LinkedIn as well to make it a little bit easier for people. But any kind of final comments you wanted to share with the group, shout outs, anything coming up with AIPAC you want to talk about, or anything else before we wrap here today?
I just want, I'm hoping that people take these life lessons and really apply whatever works for them. I want you guys to slow down and appreciate where you are right now and in the moment that you are right now. And of course, AIPAC, you guys can find us online at aipac.net. That's apacc.net to learn more. We're always open for new members, or if you want to have any questions, you can find us there.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Duke. It's been a delight to see you online today, and haven't been able to see you in person for a little while, but I'm sure we'll see each other out in the land of the real people, the four-dimensional people at some point. But in the meantime, it was really great talking with you today. I'm glad to hear your lessons today, and hopefully the people watching have really enjoyed them as well.
Thanks, Brenda.
Yeah. All right, guys. And as we wrap here today, I'm just going to remind you, if you enjoyed this video, right when you get done watching it, do me a favor and Duke a favor. Please click to share this video with others. Help to spread the word. And also, if you'd like to learn more about my LinkedIn Live webinar series, if you go to mellermarketing.com/subscribe, you'll get an email notification. It'll have like my upcoming schedule of speakers and topics and all that great stuff. So, all right, Duke. So what's on the schedule next for you today? It's Monday. It's still early in the week, but we're kind of in the afternoon part. So what's up next for you?
Well, I've got a couple of other Zoom meetings, and I've got to clean out my office. There has been a lot of stuff left here since March that we got to clean out and make sure that things are in a working order.
Yeah, well, that could be therapeutic, right? Getting all the files cleaned and everything back. I kind of had that like office purge day myself about a week ago, and it just felt like now I can walk in and go, oh, I can breathe. I can see where everything's at in here. Yeah. So that sounds awesome. All right. Well, thank you again for your time, and enjoy your rest of the day in the office there.
Thanks, Brenda.
All right, guys, stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you so much for watching. If you happen to be watching this in playback, still leave a comment below, and I'll make sure to share the links to the videos on Facebook and on LinkedIn with Duke. And then I'll also share a YouTube link with her later on today, so she might be able to see you there too. All right, guys, stay safe and stay healthy. Have a great day. We'll see you next week, or later on this week, I should say, on LinkedIn Live again. Take care.